Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our August 5th City Council meeting. Thank each and every one of you for coming tonight. Hopefully our agenda will not last too long into the evening, but we will discuss the items in the entirety they need to be discussed. I would ask you, if you have a cell phone, if you would maybe silence your cell phone or turn it on vibrate or something. Don't mind it ringing, but please excuse yourself in the event it does and go outside and maybe take care of that conversation. I would like to ask you at this moment, let's please stand for the Pledge of our Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, as all cities and counties and across the nation are meeting this evening and different events, we should just stop and pause for a moment to remember those whom have had a terrible day and a half, 2 days in El Paso and Dayton. And any of us who believe in the Lord, we believe that Jesus is with all of them and their families, and we just ask that they be taken care of because it's unbelievable what they're probably going through today. I'd also like to remind the council that we have an absence here tonight. Former Mayor Bill Lamline, he's in a Louisville hospital awaiting, I believe, a triple or quadruple bypass tomorrow. He's stable today and everything's okay, but I got a message from Valerie, his daughter, today, said that the procedure is planned for 3:45 tomorrow afternoon, so we would ask you to keep Bill in your prayers and remember him, that he has a speedy and healthy recovery. At this time, I'd like to have Stephanie call the roll and as we begin this council meeting.
Trey,
Here.
Mary,
Here.
Leslie,
Here.
Joe,
Here.
Andrea,
Here.
Debbie,
Here.
Elsie.
Here.
We have 7 present. I would like to call the meeting to order. Okay, tonight you have your agenda before you. I would always ask that any council person who would like to ask that the agenda be amended, an item placed on the agenda or deleted for any reason, at this time I will ask that we have a motion to approve our agenda in its present form, or is there any corrections or additions on any item? Okay, motion by Leslie Wright to approve, second by Elsie Carter. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, you have in your packets the minutes from a special called meeting on July the 8th. It was a special meeting. You have received those minutes in your packets as of last Thursday. I would ask that we dispense with the reading those minutes unless the council would like for them to be read tonight. And if you're okay with the minutes in their present form, I'd entertain a motion that they be as approved as well.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes from July the 8th, 2019, as read.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Motion made by Debbie Pollard, second by Leslie Wright. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you so much. You have tonight your payables for the month of June and July. Heather Woodcox is here tonight, our payables account employee here. She's here to answer any questions, and because of accounting procedures, we have bills in the packet tonight for not only June but July as well. So if anyone has a question about any of the payables at this time, we will entertain those questions. And please take your time to look at them, and if anyone has a question, either myself, Stephanie, or Heather will try to answer those for you.
I do. A resident had messaged me and asked if what monies the came from for the Oldham County Day out at the golf course. And I noticed a lot of them say miscellaneous, and then there was a reimbursement to, or it was special appropriations. And then there was one for miscellaneous for Joe for getting all the food. And I just wanted to clarify for the person who had asked me exactly where that miscellaneous came from. Was it still under special appropriations, or was it your discretionary fund, or?
No, where it came from, myself, 6 or 7 of us sit on the Raymond Wilburn Foundation Board. If you know, if you're familiar with that, we each sit on the board, and we're entitled to so much money a year. And myself, Earl Hedgepath, and Blake Hazelton each gave $500 each from the Raymond Wilburn Foundation to pay for all of that event that day, so it didn't come out of actual tax dollars. The payables you see were the items that were encumbered that took to pay for that day's worth of events. We probably had a little bit of money left over, but still, we're waiting for all the bills to be finalized, and that's where the money actually came from, $1,500, a program by us 3 guys that sit on that board.
Okay, great. I did not want to reply and have any misinformation.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Any other questions about any of the payables?
I actually have another question, and I'm not sure if this would be more of a committee question or not, but I'll go ahead and bring it up since it is on the payables. The payments to the pond lady out at Wilborn Park, I was just kind of wondering, I popped out there today. Oh, sorry. I popped out there today, and I had actually talked to a couple of the citizens and to see if they've noticed anything different. And I know that that's kind of been an ongoing struggle with that park being or the pond being as shallow as it is and whatnot, to try to keep it together. And I was just wondering if anybody might be able to share with me, I guess, kind of what she's doing, because they've not noticed a difference. So I just kind of wanted to follow up on them on that to see if there's what's going on exactly.
Leslie, we had a park board
I was
meeting
gonna say,
a
I'd be
few
glad
minutes
to, but
ago.
we have three or four park board members here, and they just left
We
the
just came
Parks
from
Board
there,
meeting,
and
so-
eventually, we will have to invest about $4 million, I think it was, to dredge the hole, get all the sludge out. But like, I drive through there all the time, and if I see it bad, then I'll call up and tell Stephanie or Becca or Heather, someone, and then they'll contact her. She doesn't go there every day to see, but it looks, 100% better than it did. So that's what's going on there. She does go, but it's at our call. So, isn't that right, Joe?
Evidently, if they don't see any difference, they didn't see it when all the algae was on the pond. And when I was in office, and I was getting calls every day and wanting samples from being tested, and this afternoon, the lakes look better than they've ever looked. There's not a bit of algae anywhere, so the pond lady has definitely done her job.
Okay.
And I know Blake Hazelton, chairman of the park board, he questioned her or something. She said, "Well, I don't come out until you call me," and so the lakes look better than they've looked in a long time right now, compared to what they were when all of the people in Washington Manor, Washington Circle was calling me, and the algae was so thick on it, you couldn't even see the water. So to me, they're just beautiful right now. So there's a big difference in them.
Okay, good, fantastic. I just kind of wanted to follow up on that and
I would ask
Check that out.
Ask whoever it was to please go down there and look at the park as it is now, because it's beautiful, it's wonderful. We have wonderful parks here in the city, and that is really exemplary, and she needs to go look at it, whoever it is.
I was just down there about 2 hours ago.
Okay. Grass cut, everything.
I might, while we're discussing the parks too, I might want to mention to Corey, Public Works, that the park board this afternoon at the meeting couldn't compliment enough on how all the parks are kept by Public Works, and so pass it on to Corey, and he can pass it on to his guys, and they just went on and on and on how beautiful the parks have been kept. So thank you, Corey.
What I know about it as well, and thank you all for your report, but there was a $7,500 contractual agreement between the Parks Board and a company called the Pond Lady to actually have a plan of action on those lakes down there. And for the $7,500, she was to watch these lakes every day, every week, every month, whatever it took to go out into the lakes with different types of, pesticides or whatever it takes to work on the algae and things like that. So she's out there, or he's out there in boats occasionally doing things to the lake. So it was a contract for $7,500, and I agree with all of you all. I was down there a week or so ago, and there was just very little remnants of any algae in either lake. So it's really doing its job down there. So we're still in the payable section of our agenda. Do we have any more questions on our payables at this time?
I make a motion we approve.
Okay, the motion made by Ms. Carter. Is there a second? Second by Debbie Pollard. I would like to clarify something Debbie said. I think she said might take $4 million to correct those lakes. I've heard 400,000 or 500,000 to maybe dredge one, but I don't want to alarm anybody. We may be spending $4 million down there too. Okay, so anyway, but we do have a motion on a second to approve the payables. All those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, as well in your packet tonight, you have all your financials, a continuation of where we are within the beginning of our new fiscal year. I'll be welcome to try to answer or entertain any discussion on any of this report. In addition to that, you have all of our bank accounts, our ending balances as of 31 of 2019. Stephanie Cooper would try to help you out on any questions you might have there, but we still haven't, still not ready to present a year end to the city council on how we did last fiscal year, but I think it's going to be a very good year for our city. So hopefully next meeting I'll have a conclusion on how we ended our last fiscal year. We're starting off well with our new year with our receipts and also our expenditures. So does anyone have any further questions on any part of our financials that you were given to last Thursday? Does everyone understand them? If you do, that's fine. I mean, there's a lot of information there, but you're always welcome to try to ask a question here at this time.
I'll make a motion we approve the financials.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Elsie Carter. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Andrea Essen Price. Any discussion on the motion and the second? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, at this time, we always offer anyone in the community the opportunity to come forward and speak during public comment time of this meeting. We sort of have a standard where we would always welcome and give everyone 4 minutes to speak to the city council on basically any subject matter. We would ask you not to be personally in your attacks on anyone, and at our discretion of the council, if we wish to extend your time over the 4 minutes, we have the ability to extend it if the council needs more time to understand your issue. What we do ask you to do for us is just give us your name, state your address, and then you're welcome to speak to the city council. Good evening.
209 South 3rd Avenue, Grange.
Priscilla Hinkle, and yes, ma'am. Okay, Diane Booker. You really got to lean over and speak. We're trying to work on that speaker system, but you're really going to have to lean over there for us, ladies, and make sure everyone in the audience can hear you. Okay. So go right ahead.
My concern is the water issue. Ever since the city group has been built, water floods down there on South 3rd Avenue. I've got some pictures and I've got a video of how high the water rises. And also due to that, it makes like a, in my, one of my bathrooms, it smells like a sewer backup. I've never had that problem until that retainer wall was built. And I've been to the water company and told them about it.
This is, do you smell the sewer primarily when we have heavy rains?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's a relationship between the sewage smell and heavy rains at a certain time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And
But
plus the water coming at you from what you say off the City Place parking lot and everything above that, correct?
Yes, sir, because there's a, covered, yes. And all that water floods down there, which makes the water rise real high. And my parents were gonna be here, but they're out of town. But everybody in our neighborhood, their water, it holds a lot of water in their yards.
Especially when it rains,
That only happened since the City Place parking lot was constructed?
yes. And when it rains, it just gushes out of what they call, cover. And they put the rocks, I went over to well, anyway, I went somewhere up here. And I told them about it, and they was gonna see about it. But when it rains, it still floods out there real bad. And then I guess they thought those big rocks was gonna do something about it, but it just floods our property. And my property is from 2nd Street to 3rd Street, and that's the back end of my property. And it's just a mess.
Okay. Well, have you ever been here before about that issue in your past, or no?
No, I haven't
Okay.
been here, but I went to whatever place it is in the
Works the
courthouse.
Public Works or the LaGrange Utilities?
No, it's right over here. I had to come and talk to these people over here.
In this building here?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
downstairs.
Okay, okay.
In the,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't know what they call it. I'm sorry. But, and they said they was gonna see something about it, but don't seem like they'd done anything.
Okay.
Have you talked to the landowner yet, the City Place, or,
No, I don't know them. I
Okay.
don't know how to get in touch with them.
okay? And is it just, you think it's just stormwater? There's not sewage, is it? Is it storm-
No, it's just stormwater, what I'm talking about. But when it rains, the sewer backs up what she's talking about.
Okay.
And the sewer is right there at the end of my property. It's it's a big sewer there. And that smell just comes up.
Yeah, which street is yours? Which house?
I'm on South Second, 206. But my
206.
property is on Third, back end of my property is on 3rd Street.
Okay, and what's your street address?
Mine is, that's South Third.
Third, okay.
LaGrange is a co-permittee on the Oldham County Stormwater Management Plan, and we're a co-permittee under the stormwater guidelines. So we're part of that program, and since you haven't been here before, what I'd like to suggest tonight is Stephanie Winther, who's our code enforcement lady that works with stormwater with Corey Rusneck and our Director of Public Works. I will ask them to monitor that and come and look at it, especially during rains for sure. But sounds like me, your detention area is not adequate or something, but something they could look at. And then far as the sewage side of it, I'm going to direct you to the LaGrange Utilities, Mr. Ted Chisholm, to see perhaps why you may be getting a whiff of sewage in the event the heavy rains come.
Now, I have talked to Mr. Ted Chisholm.
Okay?
And he told me what I need is a backflow valve. But I've never had that problem until,
They put the parking lot in.
Well, I personally
And-
don't know about backflow valves, and Ted evidently does, but that is something that we need to understand how that would help you from doing what's happening to you, if you understand what I'm saying. So we can talk about that as well.
Well, when I had my sewer changed around, because I used to have a backflow valve, because the sewer was higher than my property,
Yes,
and it
ma'am.
would come back into my house. And I eventually had the sewer line switched to the back where it comes out out on 3rd Street.
Okay?
And that stopped that problem. But since they built that at the parking lot, the problems is recurring.
Well, at this time, all I can suggest we do, we're going to take some looks at it, investigate it further since you've come here tonight. That's what I can promise you that we can do. Other council members might have something otherwise to suggest. Ted Chisholm's welcome to come up and comment, but maybe that's for a later time. And Corey on her detention, or Stephanie Winther. But I think these are things that we can, now that you're here, we can come and see you, contact you, and see exactly what we think we can do to help you out.
And well, like you said, that where the water flows down, it's coming from the spring over that area, and it's just too much water for the little creek that we have going through our property to hold it all.
That's what I was gonna ask, yeah.
Okay?
You're dumping a lot of water there now.
Any council person wish to address their issues?
I mean, is there any way that I can show you on my phone how bad this is?
I don't know how to do it other than on your phone, and I don't know how many people are going to see it. Can you put it on the projector, and would that work, technology folks?
That'll work.
Okay, can I get some
Where's our
technology people to help me?
Where's our technology department? See if they
We got
want
a
to.
refrigerator in here someplace, they can do it.
You have to have a cord or, okay.
I don't know.
She can do
Don't
it.
know how visible it will be, but we'll take a look at it real quick, and then we'll move on.
There's the video right there.
Ms.
lay
Booker,
it
does
on
it
there
come straight across from where the
Get on
pipe
there and
is?
zoom in on it.
Where the spring is, does it come straight across that towards your house?
No, not my house. It's in my yard, in the backyard.
It's backyard, okay.
Uh-huh. It
Zoom
comes,
in on it.
it's up like this.
I've seen it,
And
yeah.
that water comes down and hit them big rocks, but it still just keeps out where
Right.
that branch is. It just flows on down through there.
It's a small
And it
branch,
just
yeah.
floods the whole back.
Yeah.
You want to clear that on?
This right here is South
Hey,
Third
Heather?
where I live.
Put this pen underneath it so it removes the light so it doesn't reflect.
Second Street, yeah, it helped the city putting in these ditches.
That's South Third.
Let's just flood everybody out,
Oh, wow.
like Ohio River. Drainage ditches can't hold it. The creek down here can't hold it. Hell, it's even bubbling up through the street.
Bubbling up through the street, what's that, you think?
That's water. That's one of my neighbors that did that, and he forwarded that to me. I've got more. My husband has more. He
Okay,
wasn't able to
okay.
come tonight. That's also my street. If you can see the street is just covered. Can you see that? You can't even see the road.
Wow.
So you can imagine how my house is. And the backup sewage smell. And like I said, I've been to Ted Chisholm several times about this. And that's all I get is get you a backflow valve.
Okay, well, we can continue to discuss your situation. That's what I can promise you tonight. And
Yes, sir.
how we resolve it, I'm not sure at this moment, but we'll certainly try to see what your issues are down there, okay?
Yes, sir. And could you tell me the other two names you said?
Ted Chisholm, Grange Utilities.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Rusnick, Director of Public Utilities. and
Which one is
He's
he?
back there in the red,
Okay.
maroon or whatever. And then Stephanie Winther over there, she's our code enforcement officer who works in stormwater management with different properties,
Yes, sir. And where's her office?
right in City Hall.
Okay.
City Hall, okay.
Okay.
She'd be glad to see you at 8:30 in the morning sharp.
Okay.
Well, while I'm here, could it be discussed about what they are planning to do with the park and everything down there?
That's an ongoing discussion
Yeah.
as we're sitting here. You're familiar with that. You've been to some of those meetings, and certainly water detention and whatever we do there will be taken into strict understanding what it's doing presently and what we expect to do in the future. So as we get with our architects, our engineers to continuate that park idea, we will certainly know what's occurring here down on Third Street and your property, you know, where you all are, and take that into account as well.
I've got a bunch more of these. I just didn't get to bring them
Yes.
with me tonight that I can
Yes,
give
ma'am.
you all. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of
Why
water.
don't you give them to Stephanie and she can take a look at her Corey and
Yes,
then
sir.
compile them all.
Okay.
Okay.
Because, wait a minute, I got one more. Oh, so that 4 minutes is up yet?
Yeah, it's up, but we're gonna
Okay.
go on with it.
Okay. Over there on Third Street, you know, it used to come all the way through, but it doesn't. It's dumped. It was a dump after they covered it up, and it was an Arrington house, and the lot next to the Arrington house is nothing but springs over in there. What are they gonna do about that?
Nothing but what?
Springs?
And it
Because
goes
I
in
was a
there.
child that I played over there, and it's nothing but springs there. Do
Gotcha.
they know that?
Well, there's geotechnical surveys going on, and will continue to go on the geotechnical and what's going on underneath the ground in relation to where that dump was you're speaking of. So that will be looked into as well.
Yeah.
We don't want to certainly put any more water on you than what you're already getting, and we'd like to work within the development of park to cause it to be less water if we can. We're just going to have to figure out how to reroute it, detain it, hold it back, and things like that. Okay? But
And my
thank you.
biggest concern too is with that sewer, because to me, that's not healthy.
Well, we're going to look into that as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
We're looking at.
All right.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, thank you.
We're going to have discussion on golf carts specifically here in a little bit, but, and we'll let anyone wants to speak on that subject matter at that point in time. Is there anyone else here want to speak to the city council during public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Elizabeth Kirkwood, 1515 Dawkins Road, LaGrange, Kentucky. I've been talking with these people for at least a year, and we have been sent to every agency. They've been told to call every agency. I first met them at a city park meeting when they were talking about the new plans for the skate park. And one of the ladies raised their hand and said, what is going to happen about all this flooding? With City Place going in and them raising the property and putting in a pipe this big that does nothing but shoot out across the, it's like it doesn't care where the water goes. It's like New Orleans, where I'm from, part of the way. The water shoots out here, all of their property is down there. There's no place for that water to go. It needs to be enclosed somehow or another. And I talked to the man who has to do with planning, people submitting plans and all that kind of stuff. And what they said was that should have been taken into consideration, and it should have been taken care of at the time City Place and the parking was done. It wasn't. And they just keep getting shifted from place to place to place. And it's a mess. I mean, none of us would want to live in what they're living in. You know, I mean, it's bad enough when it's not raining, but then it's an absolute river. And they can't park there, nothing. And they have been given names, and they have gone to all these people, and I've called too. And the last person I talked to said they need to go to the city council and talk to the city council and get them to do something. But I also think Mr. Rawlings and the people who drew up those plans are responsible, because there is no way that they can say, and those people have the money to do it right, there's no way you can say something drops down that far. It's got to be the lowest place in this town. All the water from everywhere goes there. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm not trying to irritate anybody, but at the same time, none of us would want to live there. And they have talked to everybody.
Well, they never have been here before, so that's the
No,
reason.
that's right, because-
That's the reason we will look into it.
Okay?
Okay.
But I also think that Mr. Rawlings and the people who drew those plans up had to know something, and the people who raised that level of that park, they had to haul in so much dirt to get that place level. There is no way they didn't know that was going to be a flood problem. There's a little pipe coming out from the parking lot, but there's this massive thing I could use as a studio apartment coming out of a hill. So,
Yeah,
thank you,
I know
Mayor.
I know where you're talking about.
Yeah.
And
But everybody has been contacted, and finally, this is where they're at. So, be a hero.
We want to do something about it because we want to save the springs too.
Yeah,
Important
well, I'll
part of
tell you, yeah.
the
I mean,
Grange.
with all that money going into that area, the least that can be done is pipe that friggin' water.
Right.
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else at this time for public comment?
Tracy Bean, 604 Lakeview Drive, LaGrange, Kentucky. I haven't got the complaint. I wanted to tell Ted on the water district how good they are. Last month when I got home, went in the house from city council, it smelled like sewer. I thought something's desperately the matter, which we've got them red light, in the back of our house. That's the first thing I went and looked at. The pump station was out, or the pump. I think he called it. About 2 weeks later, same thing happened again, and they were right there to get it fixed, and I appreciate it. Because the house just, if you're taking me home and in it, I'd still be embarrassed today to look at you, even though it's not my fault, but
Right. But Mr. Ted
Ted's
took care of it.
man came right on out, and I told him, I said, now, if I knew this was going on, I would have left the meeting and came and took care of it.
Sure.
And he says, well, I appreciate that. But I said, I didn't know it until I walked in the house, and it just about killed you.
Did you give us your address, Tracy? I don't remember.
604 Lakeview Avenue.
Okay, so that's where the issue was, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy.
We appreciate good comments as well as the complaints that both of them are important.
Okay, anyone else for public comment? If no one else, we'll close that portion of our meeting. Item 8 tonight is a general discussion among the council members on the use of golf carts. I'll let Chairman Joe Davenport speak in just a moment here, but how I'd like for this to sort of be discussed with the council and the audience as well. Actually, the committee wanted some feedback from the public on this type of usage of golf carts on the city streets, even before they would consider having a first reading of an ordinance to either allow it or deny it. So that was the committee's decision. So tonight will be an opportunity for those who want to speak on the golf carts in general, whether you like the idea, you're opposed to the idea, or what your position would be. I think before we get into that discussion, what I'd like to do is go to Joe Davenport, and I would like to probably see our city attorney weigh in on the subject, and also our Assistant Police Chief, Bruce Goodflesh, who's here tonight. He's very familiar with the KRS statute in Kentucky that is the authority in terms of KRS regulations. Whether we abide by them or not, we've got to do a certain amount of things in relation to KRS to permit them in our city and or the county. So at this time, Mr. Joe, Mayor Joe, would you like to open up and tell the council or in the audience where you feel we are, and then maybe ask Beach for his opinion on the subject, and then anything you want to brief the whole room on the KRS, it's fine. After that, we will take public comment, whether a person stands for it or against it, and then we'll give it to the council and let them have an opportunity to discuss it. Thank you all. Good night. Bye-bye. And we'll let the council discuss it. So, Joe, would you like to proceed, buddy?
Thank you, Mayor. We had a committee meeting about this. Andrea and Debbie's on the committee, and we had a good discussion on it, and we decided to bring it to the council instead of us even making a recommendation. One of the main reasons I want to do that, the only thing I heard, we had a few residents that wanted to, for instance, take their golf cart from, say, Anita Springs and drive it down to Farmers Market. And so when I got to looking at the revised statute 189.286 and realized that if we do pass an ordinance for allowing golf carts on public streets, that there's a lot in this ordinance that has to be abided by before you can actually, you can't just take your golf cart that you had on your trailer and go into the golf course with it and the same cart and put it on the street and drive it, because Kentucky statute won't allow that. So that's where we stand. And so the main reason when I talked to you, Mayor, and you decide we'd see what the public decides on it, because my stance was on it that I don't think these people that wants to drive their cars on the street knows exactly what all is in this ordinance or in this Kentucky Revised Statute that will allow them to have their golf cart on the city street or public right of way. So that's where we stand on it. So
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Davenport. Beach, would you like to weigh in on this as city attorney?
Well, sure. We looked at the KRS that Joe just mentioned, and it's a pretty significant regulatory burden that would be placed on the police and as well as the sheriff to inspect. The vehicles have to be almost like cars, okay? They gotta have brakes, brake lights, headlights, turn signals, seat belts, and the sheriff has to do the inspections, and then the city police have jurisdiction for traffic, or any police officer would have jurisdiction for violations. The biggest problem is crossing state roads. The city doesn't have jurisdiction over state roads, and so there's a specific provision for the golf carts to cross state roads. If the roads have a certain speed limit that's less than 35 miles per hour, so all those city streets, I think, in the city of LaGrange are under 35. I believe that this statute, which was just recently amended, effective of June of this year, and it became more restrictive and more stringent this year, and it just went into effect. So any other communities out there that have laws probably do not have them under this current state law. I believe the intent in most of the ordinances that I've seen in other jurisdictions have to do with golf course communities, like Eagle Creek or Hunting Creek or any of the golf course communities where people like to ride their golf carts to the golf course. The fundamental concern that the city has to look at is the safety of people who may be driving these little golf carts. I mean, they got to have a big orange thing on the back, and you always hear all these horror stories about Shakers or the Amish who have these on the back of their buggies, and they get smashed into by some vehicle in the back, which we don't want to see that happen. And so before we would open up this potential safety issue, we want to make sure that nobody's going to get hurt by some stranger or even a resident that pulls into town and decides to go fast down Main Street, which is a city street, and gets run into in the back into a golf cart, which they aren't expecting to be on the streets. So it's a large undertaking that we don't want to do lightly. Years past, we used to have horses and buggies, and years past people could ride golf carts up and down the streets. But this is 2019, and there aren't. I think I saw a Lamborghini on the street the other day. So I mean, things have changed, and if it was safe, we'd love to be able to have a golf cart community in downtown LaGrange, but I'm not sure whether we've reached that point yet. So that's the law issue of it. We do have the power. The city has the power to allow golf carts on the streets. But we also have a responsibility to the safety of the people that would be driving them. That help?
Just for the general public and the folks watching from home, KRS 189-286, just a few definitions of a golf cart. As it's stated in 189-286, a golf cart is designed for the transportation of players or maintaining equipment on a golf course while engaged in playing golf, supervising golf, or maintaining the condition of the grounds. It has a minimum of 4 wheels. It is designed to operate a speed of not more than 35 miles per hour. It is designed to carry not more than 6 persons, including the driver. Has a maximum gross vehicle weight of 2,500 pounds. Has a maximum rated payload capacity of 1,200 pounds. And it also is equipped with the following: headlights, tail lamps, stop lamps, front and rear turn signals, 1 red reflector on each side, as far as to the rear as practical, an exterior mirror mounted on the driver's side of the vehicle, a parking brake, and for each designated seating position, a seat belt assembly that conforms to the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard provided in 49 CFR. So that's basically what it says in the statute. So at this time, Mr. Bruce Goodflesh, would you like to come up and maybe bring anything from your department as to anything you'd like to weigh in on this discussion?
Mayor, if I could, please, sir. Also in this is the KRS 304.39-080, and that's to where that requires owner and operator of proof of insurance shall be in the golf cart at all times. We didn't just bring that up a while ago, so they are required to have insurance on them if they're going to drive them on public right away.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Pretty well covered KRS. When they develop this KRS for law, that's what they do. They always start a law with definitions. So a golf cart means a golf cart in the normal sense of a golf cart. But when they decided they were going to allow golf carts on the roadways or highways, then it became a motor vehicle, which is the reason that they have all these requirements. So your standard golf cart is not going to be legal for the street. The golf carts that they're talking about, you might as well buy a small car, because that's about the prices you're going to get into. One caveat with this, as part of developing an ordinance under this KRS, you can go more stringent than KRS, but you cannot go less than what is defined in state law. From our point of view, if there is an approval of these golf carts, they'll have to be inspected. That's historically done by the sheriff's office. The city will most likely charge and have a permit, which will have a permit sticker or something that'll be displayed on the golf cart to let us know that they are an approved golf cart. The other thing with that would be basically a database of who has golf carts. So in the event that we have one that's stolen or missing, we can hopefully find it a lot easier. And it'll have to be, like I said, with the inspection, that's through the sheriff's office, and they set their fees for vehicle inspections. From our point of view, and the important part of this is when you do develop your ordinance, you do need to designate which streets you're allowed to have a golf cart on. And the limit on that per KRS is the speed limit cannot exceed 35 miles per hour, nor can your path cross any road with a speed limit greater than 35 miles per hour. So the people in Eagle Creek can't get to anywhere but Eagle Creek because they can't get out on 53 based on the speed limit. The operator of the golf cart has to have a valid operator's license. If they have no license or have a suspended license, we treat it the same as if you're driving your car. They have to be operated between the hours of sunrise and sunset. Even though they have headlights, they're not to be out on the road after dark. They have to display the slow-moving vehicle emblem, which is that large red triangle that they place on the back. They have to be insured just like a vehicle, so you'll have to carry insurance for the vehicle itself and liability insurance for any passengers that you may have. They are exempt from title, registration, and vehicle emissions, which we don't have, but they are exempt from those. And then there's some provisions in there for some additional golf cart stuff where you get into the UPS and FedEx and that, where they have delivery carts. It's a whole nother subsection. You all can, I don't know what you've discussed in committee, but that's a whole nother subsection of golf carts or vehicles. And then eventually we'll get into the question of ATVs and razors and that sort of stuff, because a lot of those vehicles do have headlights and taillights and such. KRS has separate laws dealing with ATVs, and very specific. They can't be driven on the roadways except for specific purposes, like related to farming or agriculture. They have the same restrictions on crossing roadways. They have helmet requirements, which golf carts do not. Some other things to think about on a safety issue with these golf carts is, particularly in the vehicle passenger restraint systems, what are you gonna do when granddad wants to take his young granddaughter or grandson out and we're dealing with car seats? You know, can they be adequately secured? Then we run into other issues, where we've had of recent with some complaints where they just let the kids take the golf cart out because they don't see any harm in it. So those are all things that we'll have to look forward to, potentially.
Okay.
Some things that were discussed in your all's committee. Greg sent you an email with everything on it. I don't need to discuss those unless you want me to bring them up. For the committee, I'm sure you'll disseminate it to everybody. When you get to the actual ordinance development stage, if you get that far, then there's some things that need to be
Major, I've
addressed.
got a email from Chief Collette with a lot of those on there that discusses
That's what I was,
razors and
yeah, I didn't know if you
ATVs.
wanted
Yeah.
that brought up now or just save all that.
I think we've pretty much covered basically the golf carts right now. I guess, I don't know what will happen if those were brought before us. So, you know, if you're talking about the side-by-sides, I noticed I looked up some of these they call side-by-sides, and they're, the definition in when I looked it up said like a golf cart,
Yeah.
which I don't know.
Well, the caveat
how
in
close-
KRS is in the first lines where they talk about the definition of a golf cart, and they primarily relate it to a golf course, like what you go up here and rent and put your clubs on.
Right.
That's where they start, and then the modifications to make it street worthy are with the
Yes.
additional of the headlights and everything else, which is not an ATV. So that's the difference there.
Bruce, can I ask, is there a way to distinguish between usage of golf carts for special events? For example, if there's a fair or so and they're hauling ice around and the streets are closed, I mean.
There can be exemptions added into the ordinance. Like I said, you can make it stricter, but you can't make it less.
Right.
So you can add exemptions for public safety, for city works if they have a vehicle like that, or even for event vendors, as long as they meet the requirements, or whatever exemption you want to place in there.
What about under your current safe traffic ordinances? I mean, are there any?
There's nothing that
do you
allows
have
golf carts on the
anything?
road
We have
right now.
nothing under traffic other than state law, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yep, I have a few questions. So right now, if I had a golf cart and I wanted to drive it on a city street, I have to go to the county to get it permitted under the sheriff's office, under the state law, correct? Right now.
If you're gonna operate it in the county, they have their own ordinance, and they have all their designated streets, so it would fall under them. And the streets that you're allowed to drive it on, they have all those listed in their ordinance.
Okay, and that's what the state law says, is what you're saying. So they, I guess evidently are a little bit more strict possibly than the state law. I don't know what the county law is.
You can go stricter, but you can't go less.
Do you, by chance, know, so it says that it can be up to a $5 fee and then $10 additional fee. Do you happen to know what the county fee is?
I don't.
I don't either, so, okay, all right, well, thank you.
I think his question was, Major, was if we were to choose to do this in a city, do you still go to the county sheriff to get the inspection? And the statute from the state of Kentucky says that's who's to be the inspection
Correct.
department, not city police
Correct.
or anything. It should be the sheriff's department.
Because they do all
Is that-
vehicle
Is
inspections.
that what you want to know, Trey?
That's part of it, but also, I guess, the main question I'm asking, right now, there is some sort of law, it's county law, it's not city law, because we
Right.
would fall, like you said, we fall under their,
We're in Oldham County,
Right.
but the city of LaGrange is its own municipality.
Yes.
So the ordinance would have to be specific for the city of LaGrange for golf carts from the city of LaGrange.
if we wanted to make
I
something.
don't know the question, if you take your LaGrange golf cart out into the county, as long as it meets the same statutes, that would be a question that the city and county eventually, if we get this ordinance, would be good to coordinate the ordinances.
Yep.
To make sure that there's crossover on that sort of thing. But there's no way to get to the county places unless you trailer.
Right.
So,
Okay, all right, thank you.
What actually prompted the county to do it when they did it, I was there, and it was a request by UPS. UPS was the requesting agency because they wanted to pull a truck into different subdivisions in the county, drop a golf cart off the back of it, and then deliver packages within those respective neighborhoods. So that's how that came about originally. So,
if you're having trouble sleeping, KRS 189-283 deals with all the commercial UPS and all that stuff. You can look that up. That's available online also. That's a separate KRS dealing specifically with their type of business. 283, yeah, 189.283.
okay, Major, thank you so much for that. And at this time, we're opening floor for anyone who wants to come up and speak on golf carts in general, and what your opinion is in terms of their operation on city streets in LaGrange.
I don't know how to, Richard W. Rankin Sr., 519 Horton Road, LaGrange, Kentucky, 40031. I own one. You can call it a golf cart if you want to. It's not. I don't recommend it is, unless it's got a golf bag carrier on the back. Nobody seems to know what they want to do yet. I'm gonna make this comment. You can take it as you want to take it. Makes no difference to me anymore. I'm gonna drive my golf cart where I want to drive my golf cart. Okay, that's the way it's going to be. Nobody knows what the fine's going to be yet. I've been doing this for 16 years. Like I told you last meeting, 4 mayors. We went through 4 mayors, and nobody's yet stopped Dick from doing what he's doing, and all 4 mayors have seen me on my little cart. And why y'all blowing this out of proportion, I have the slightest idea. Going up and down 146 where the speed limit's 45 to 55, I understand that. You know, it takes somebody, a blooming idiot, to get out there and do that. But crossing the state highway at Eldridge's and Fifth Street, where I do it to go to Catlett Shell sometimes to have my lunch, breakfast, whatever it can be, or go to a car shows when I got pulled over and I was headed to an event. And that's what happened. That's why it's all stirred up. I ain't out to bother nobody. I don't want to be bothered. I'm at the end of the street. I want left alone. But yeah, this is getting way out of hand, people. It's getting way out of hand. But what I don't understand is we went through 4 mayors over this, and they passed it in Prospect to let them get the golf carts out and deliver packages. Wasn't no big deal. Wasn't no big deal. But we went through 4 mayors, and nobody's ever said anything to Dick. But all once, now they're down on this little old man. Leave me alone. I got this comment. Go ahead.
Well, I believe I would be remiss if I just sit here and let you say you're going to disregard the law. So I'm just saying you're taking your chances. If the police catch you and they write you a ticket, you can tell it to the judge and decide what they want to do.
And
But
that's
that's the law, is what we just told you. It's against the law to cross 146. It's against the law to cross 53.
Not necessarily. No, not at the 35-mile per hour.
Thank you very
35
much.
miles an
It's a
hour.
4-lane road, but,
I don't think that matters. It's the speed limit.
well, you gotta have a permit, okay?
a
And it has to be inspected. You have to have seat belts, stoplights, headlights.
I heard all that.
Okay, you got all that?
I heard it.
Okay.
I
Well,
heard
so did Major Goodfly.
I heard it.
Okay.
I heard it. What's the fine going to be when I'm caught? Because I will get caught.
That's up to them. It's whatever the state law says, because there's no city law against it.
Right.
So we don't
There's
have
no
a city law. There's a state
Oh,
law.
wow.
And I rode one in the city for 8 years,
That's what I
and it
said.
had everything on it that it was necessary, the triangle, all the safety things, everything that they mentioned. And it was not dangerous because of the speed limit that the other cars are going. 35, they see you. I don't think it's dangerous. I did it for 8 years. And I think that people in Crystal Lake, that is a community that is full of golf carts. That's out of the city, it's not in the city, but they really appreciate their golf carts. And I think we will come to do that too.
Here-
I think
here-
it'll finally be,
They should come and ask
wait.
for those streets
Okay,
to be
you-
enacted.
You can question Mr. Rankin, but let's hold your thoughts for our general discussion, Elsie, okay?
Here.
Is that- I
I've
mean,
already
you
had
know,
my say, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's your right turn. Here's your left turn. And there's your slow turn. So, as far as having turn signals, you don't have to have them. Right turn, left turn, slow. There they are. KRS. That's what we had to go through when we was paper boys. Right, John Black?
What's that? What'd you say?
Yeah.
I didn't hear what you said.
When you had to deliver your newspapers,
Oh,
Herald Journal come out here, right or wrong? Right signal?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I didn't think you did.
No newspapers anymore.
They came out and taught them how to do the turn signals on their bicycles.
I don't hold no ill against anybody about it. But I guess I'm gonna make a statement. I'm grandfathered in, because I've been doing it over 10 years. Right?
An interesting theory.
No, it is a
Judges
theory.
figured that one
Anything over 10 years that you've been doing on a piece of equipment, you're grandfathered in.
I never heard that one.
Well, that's a fact.
Beach,
That's your homework.
Okay, yes,
I have
sir.
a question. Do you happen to know what the county, for violating their ordinance, do you happen to know what that charge is by chance?
Who, me?
Yes.
No, I don't. It's like the police officer would probably know. If you got pulled over and you didn't have your